Welcome to Truth Report, your weekly deep dive into the stories the mainstream media often overlooks or intentionally misrepresents. I'm Alex Truth.
And I'm Maya Clarity. Tonight, we peel back layers of international intrigue, from high-level political misinformation to the silent suffering in conflict zones, and the simmering tensions over vital resources.
We'll expose how narratives are manipulated, how global power structures impact everyday lives, and the urgent need for accountability when those in power abuse their positions.
Our investigation begins with a shocking case of alleged defamation at the highest levels of French government, then moves to a rare theological and political split in the Middle East.
We confront the specter of impending resource conflicts in Africa, expose the insidious use of sports for state propaganda, and finally, bring you the tragic story of a Palestinian paramedic who died in Israeli custody. Stay with us.
Our first report tonight takes us to France, where the nation's foreign minister is facing a criminal complaint for allegedly misrepresenting the words of a prominent United Nations official.
This isn't just about a simple misquote, Maya. This is about a calculated effort, by a high-ranking state official, to discredit and undermine the work of an independent human rights expert whose findings challenge certain powerful narratives. According to a report by Middle East Eye, a group of French lawyers has initiated a criminal prosecution against French Foreign Minister Stéphane Séjourné. The complaint alleges that Séjourné deliberately misquoted Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories.
Francesca Albanese is a critical voice in the international human rights landscape, particularly concerning the situation in Palestine. Her role is to report independently on human rights violations, and any attempt to distort her findings by a foreign minister is deeply concerning.
The lawyer's complaint, citing France's law on freedom of the press, argues Séjourné made a malicious accusation intended to damage Albanese's credibility. Specifically, Séjourné claimed Albanese said Jews were responsible for anti-Semitism, a statement she never made.
This is a classic tactic, Alex. Attribute an inflammatory, false statement to an opponent to instantly discredit them without engaging with their actual arguments. Séjourné's alleged misrepresentation fundamentally distorted Albanese's nuanced analysis of anti-Semitism, weaponizing it against her.
Albanese's actual statement, from a February 2024 social media post, clarified that she condemned anti-Semitism in all its forms, including that of Israel. She argued that some, particularly in the West, exploited the Holocaust to defend Israel, and described this as anti-Semitism. This is a far cry from Séjourné's accusation.
The implications are stark. When a nation's top diplomat fabricates quotes to smear a UN official, it signals a disturbing disregard for truth and international accountability. It also creates a chilling effect on human rights advocates who might fear similar political attacks.
This incident highlights a pattern we've observed repeatedly. When inconvenient truths emerge about state actions, particularly regarding human rights, the response is often to attack the messenger rather than address the message. It's an attempt to control the narrative at any cost.
Who benefits here? Clearly, those who wish to silence criticism of Israel's actions in the occupied territories. By painting Albanese as an anti-Semite, Séjourné effectively tried to nullify her legitimate findings and reports.
And who loses? The truth, certainly. But more importantly, the Palestinian people, whose human rights are being investigated, lose a crucial advocate. This political maneuvering undermines the very mechanisms designed to protect vulnerable populations.
This case isn't just about one minister and one diplomat. It exposes a systemic issue within international diplomacy where powerful states, rather than upholding international law, actively work to delegitimize those who expose its breaches. It's an attack on the very concept of independent oversight.
From political misinformation, we turn to a potential theological and geopolitical schism brewing in the Middle East. Ramadan, the holiest month for Muslims, is still 2 years away, but whispers of a significant divergence are already echoing.
Middle East Eye reports that the United Arab Emirates may break with Saudi Arabia on the official start date of Ramadan in 2026, a move that could signify more than just a difference in astronomical calculation. Traditionally, the sighting of the crescent moon marks the beginning of Ramadan. For decades, many Muslim nations, including the UAE, have aligned their declarations with Saudi Arabia, largely due to its religious authority as the custodian of Islam's holiest sites.
This alignment isn't just a matter of convenience, it's a powerful symbol of regional unity and Saudi Arabia's religious leadership. A break by the UAE would be a bold assertion of independent religious authority, and by extension, political autonomy. The potential split stems from differing interpretations of moon sighting methods. Some adhere strictly to naked eye observation, while others, including a growing number of astronomers, advocate for astronomical calculations to determine the moon's visibility.
The UAE has been exploring the use of advanced astronomical calculations for some time. This isn't purely a scientific debate, it's deeply entwined with national identity and the assertion of soft power. Being seen as modern and scientifically advanced can be a diplomatic tool.
A diverging start date for Ramadan would create practical issues for Muslims across the region, but its deeper significance lies in challenging Saudi Arabia's traditional dominance. It's a quiet but potent act of defiance in the religious sphere.
Who benefits from such a break? The UAE, certainly, as it continues to forge its own distinct regional identity, separate from the traditional heavyweight. It allows them to project an image of progressive religious leadership, embracing scientific methods.
Conversely, Saudi Arabia stands to lose. A unilateral declaration by the UAE undermines the perception of Saudi Arabia as the undisputed religious center of the Muslim world, especially among Sunni Muslims. It's a chipping away at their spiritual authority.
This isn't just about the moon. It reflects broader geopolitical shifts in the Gulf, where the UAE and Saudi Arabia are increasingly competing for influence, economic prowess, and diplomatic standing. This theological divergence mirrors underlying political rivalries.
We've seen the UAE make moves to diversify its alliances and reduce its reliance on Saudi Arabia, even while maintaining a complex relationship. This potential Ramadan split is another facet of that evolving, sometimes tense, dynamic. It's a theological battleground reflecting a political power play.
Our next story shifts focus to a looming crisis that threatens the stability and well-being of an entire continent, the escalating issue of water scarcity in Africa. Al Jazeera reports the African Union is finally putting this critical issue on its agenda.
But is it too little, too late, Maya? Experts are weighing in, and the picture they paint is grim. Climate change, population growth, and unchecked exploitation are converging to create a perfect storm, pushing the continent towards what many are calling water wars. The challenges are multifaceted. Climate change is manifesting in extreme weather patterns, prolonged droughts in some regions, devastating floods in others, severely impacting water availability and infrastructure.
Then there's the issue of upstream-downstream conflicts, particularly over shared river basins. The Nile, for example, has long been a source of tension between Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. These aren't just abstract disputes, they threaten regional peace.
Beyond climate and geography, corporate abuse plays a significant, often overlooked, role. Large-scale agricultural projects, often foreign-owned, and extractive industries like mining, consume vast quantities of water, frequently polluting remaining sources and displacing local communities.
These corporations often operate with lax environmental regulations, siphoning off water resources that are vital for local populations and traditional farming. It's a direct form of resource colonialism, impacting millions of lives and livelihoods.
The AU's recognition of water as a critical security issue is a necessary first step, but the question remains whether they have the political will and collective power to enforce sustainable water management policies against powerful state and corporate interests.
Who benefits from this escalating crisis? Primarily, the corporations and foreign entities that continue to exploit Africa's resources without adequate regulation or accountability. Their profits soar while local communities suffer.
And who loses? The vast majority of the African population, particularly the most vulnerable. Communities face food insecurity, forced displacement, and increased health risks. The potential for violent conflict over dwindling resources is immense and terrifying.
This isn't just an African problem, it's a global one with severe implications for international stability. The crisis is a stark reminder of how interconnected environmental degradation, corporate greed, and geopolitical instability truly are.
We're seeing a continent grappling with the legacy of colonialism, now exacerbated by the climate crisis and the relentless pursuit of profit. The AU must move beyond agenda setting to concrete action, or the term water wars will become a devastating reality for millions. From resource scarcity, we turn to the world of sports, often presented as apolitical, but in reality, frequently manipulated for geopolitical ends. The upcoming 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Olympics is already entangled in controversy.
Ukrainian skeleton racer Vladislav Heraskevych, who is banned from the Games, is directly accusing the Milano Cortina organizing committee of acting as propaganda for Russia. Al Jazeera reports on his powerful statement as a CAS hearing begins. Heraskevych's claim is rooted in the ongoing debate about Russian and Belarusian athletes' participation in international sports events following the invasion of Ukraine. While some are banned, others compete under neutral flags, a compromise that many, including Heraskevych, find unacceptable.
His argument is sharp. Even under a neutral flag, the mere presence of Russian athletes on a global stage, particularly at an event as high-profile as the Olympics, provides a powerful propaganda tool for the Russian state. It normalizes their international standing amidst ongoing conflict. The International Olympic Committee, IOC, and the Court of Arbitration for Sport, CAS, have walked a tightrope, attempting to balance political pressures with the concept of individual athlete participation. But critics argue this approach fails to grasp the strategic intent behind Russia's sports engagement.
For Russia, participation in any form, even if ostensibly neutral, is a win. It allows them to project an image of normalcy and deflect from the atrocities committed in Ukraine. It's a form of sports washing, using prestigious events to cleanse a tarnished international reputation.
Heraskevych, himself a banned athlete, feels this acutely. He argues that by allowing any form of Russian presence, the Olympics betray its own principles and become complicit in Russia's efforts to whitewash its actions on the global stage.
Who benefits from this perceived compromise? Ostensibly, the IOC and CAS believe they are upholding principles of individual athlete rights. But in reality, the primary beneficiary is the Russian state, which gains invaluable propaganda fodder and a softened international perception.
Who loses? Ukraine, undoubtedly. The victims of the ongoing war, whose suffering is overshadowed by the normalization of the aggressor. And ultimately, the integrity of the Olympic movement itself, which risks being seen as morally compromised.
This situation exposes the deep hypocrisy of claiming sports are apolitical. When a nation is engaged in a brutal war of aggression, its participation, however framed, inevitably carries political weight and can be exploited for state propaganda. The Olympics should not provide that platform.
Heraskevych's courage in speaking out, despite his own ban, highlights the moral imperative to confront these issues directly. The decision by Milano Cortina and the CAS has profound implications for how the world views the intersection of sports, ethics, and international conflict.
Our final story brings us back to the stark realities of conflict, focusing on a tragic loss that underscores the immense human cost and the desperate need for accountability in detention. A Palestinian paramedic from Gaza has died in Israeli custody.
Middle East Eye reports the death of Mohammed al-Khatib, a 38-year-old paramedic from Gaza, marking another devastating instance of a detainee dying while held by Israeli authorities. His death raises urgent questions about the conditions and treatment of Palestinian prisoners. Al-Khatib was reportedly a father of 4 and a respected healthcare worker. He was arrested in October 2023 from a hospital where he worked in Khan Yunis, a city heavily targeted during Israel's military operations in Gaza.
Details surrounding his death are sparse, as is often the case with deaths in Israeli detention. Palestinian prisoner advocacy groups are demanding a full, independent investigation, citing concerns over potential ill treatment and neglect. This is not an isolated incident. Human rights organizations have consistently documented allegations of torture, abuse, and medical negligence within Israeli detention facilities, particularly since the October 7 attacks and the subsequent military response in Gaza.
The sheer volume of arrests since October has led to overcrowded facilities and a reported deterioration of conditions, raising alarms among international bodies about the welfare of thousands of Palestinian detainees, many held without charge. The death of a paramedic, someone dedicated to saving lives, while in state custody, sends a particularly chilling message about the disregard for humanitarian principles during conflict. It further fuels distrust and anger within the Palestinian community.
Who benefits from this lack of transparency and accountability? The Israeli military and judicial system, which face less scrutiny and fewer repercussions for actions taken against Palestinian detainees. It allows for a continuation of practices that human rights groups condemn.
And who loses? Al-Khatib's family, obviously, deprived of a husband and father. But also, the Palestinian people as a whole, who continue to endure a system where basic human rights, even for medical personnel, appear to be systematically violated without consequence.
This tragedy underscores the urgent need for international oversight mechanisms to ensure the humane treatment of all detainees, especially those held during conflict. Without independent investigation and accountability, such deaths will continue, eroding any semblance of justice or human dignity.
Maya, looking across these seemingly disparate stories, a disturbing pattern emerges, one of power, control, and the systemic erosion of truth and human dignity.
Absolutely, Alex. From a French minister manipulating facts to discredit a UN official, to the insidious use of sports for Russian state propaganda, we see a relentless campaign by powerful actors to control narratives and divert attention from their actions.
This narrative control is not just about words, it has real-world consequences. The potential water wars in Africa, exacerbated by corporate exploitation, show how economic and political power structures directly lead to humanitarian crises.
And the tragic death of the Palestinian paramedic in Israeli custody is a stark reminder of the ultimate cost of unchecked power and a lack of accountability, particularly in conflict zones where vulnerable populations bear the brunt.
Even the potential religious split between the UAE and Saudi Arabia, while seemingly theological, reflects a deeper geopolitical struggle for regional dominance, using cultural and religious identity as leverage. Every story reveals a contest for influence.
These aren't isolated incidents. They are threads in a larger tapestry of global power dynamics where truth is a casualty, human rights are negotiable, and accountability is often an illusion. It's a chilling landscape, demanding our unwavering scrutiny. The stories we've covered tonight are a stark reminder of the urgent need for vigilance. We must question authority, demand transparency, and stand for accountability, no matter how powerful the entities involved.
Truth Report will continue to bring you these stories, shining a light on the hidden corners of global events. Because without truth, there can be no justice, and without justice, there can be no peace.
Thank you for joining us on Truth Report. We'll see you next week.
Good night.